Good morning, students. I hope all of you are fine today. So let's continue with the chapter which we are doing previously in the online class, which is light. Students, the topic which we are covering is the human eye, in which we have covered the parts like sclera, cornea, and iris. Now, the next part of the human eye is the pupil. Students, pupil is black in color, which is positioned in the center of the iris, and the function of the pupil, it allows the light to enter into the eyes. Now, when our eyes suddenly exposed to very bright light, then our eyes feels slight pain and we close our eyes. Now, why does it happen? As because the pupil, it widens up in dim light, and when the eyes gets exposed to bright light, then the pupil tries to contract so that it can protect the eyes from any kind of a damage. Okay? Now, why does it contract? As because students, pupil puts an extra effort. Okay, pupil puts an extra effort to narrow the size so that only small amount of light can get enter into the eyes. So for this reason, students, the pupil has a function, that is, it allows the light to enter into the eyes, or it allows only that much of light so that our eye can see the object clearly. Now the next part is the crystalline lens, students. See, students, when the light enters through pupil, then it reaches the lens, which is crystalline lens. Okay, so it is placed just behind the iris, and the function of the lens is to focus all the light rays. Okay, all the light rays on the screen, which is called the retina. Now, the amount of light, it goes through the powerful crystalline lens so that the object which the eye is seeing, okay, it can form the image on the screen, that is the retina. Now, the next part is the retina, students. It is the most delicate membrane. Okay, membrane is a thin layer which is present at the back of the eye. Now, students, retina holds millions of cells in it. Okay, and those cells are very sensitive to light. Now the name of the cells are rods and cones, students. Now cone cells are shape of a cone, okay, and they are very sensitive to colors and bright light as well. And the rods are shaped like a rod, and they are very much sensitive to the dim light. So rods helps us to see in dim light, okay, and cones allows us to visible or allows us to see all the objects and all the objects which are in color, and it works better in the brightest light, students. So retina takes all the light, all the rays from the crystalline lens, it receives, and then it changes the images into nerve signals so that it can send to brain, and the brain can understand what the eye is seeing at the moment. Now the next part is the optic nerve, students. Okay, optic nerve consists of millions of nerves, okay, which gathers or which collects all the information from the eye, and then it sends the information to the brain in the form of electrical signal, students, so that it can process whatever the images it is, or whatever the object it is seeing. Now students, the brain allows us to see the world right side up, that is upside down. Okay, so that we can understand what the object is. As because in the online class I have said, okay, in the online class I have said that our eye is consist of a lens. Okay, now our eye cannot see the object, object upside down. It is only the brain who understands it, process it clearly, and then helps us to modify and enhance whatever the objects which we are seeing. Now the next part is the ciliary muscle, students. The eye lens is suspended with the help of many fiber-like muscles, which is known as ciliary muscles. Now ciliary muscles helps to change the shape of the eye each time whenever it sees a far away object, or it sees a close object. Okay, so see students, whenever you try to see the things which are close, the lens, it becomes thicker so that it could focus the image on the retina. And if you are seeing the objects which are far away, then the lens, it becomes thinner. Now the next portion is the blind spot, students. It is the least sensitive point on the retina where the optic nerve leaves the eye. Okay, these optic nerve receives the signals which is created and produced in the eye, and then it transfers to the brain to be processed. Now see students, in blind spot there are no rods and cone cells, okay, where optic nerves leave the eyeball. So if any image is formed in this portion of the retina, then no signal can be sent to the brain, as because no rods or cone cells are there and no kind of image can be formed. So that is why this portion or this spot is known as blind spot of the eye, students. Okay students, now the next portion is the persistence of vision. Now what is this, students? It means it is the characteristics of the human eye to capture the image on the retina. Okay, and this image can be retained, or this image can be there for only 1/16th fraction of a second on the retina. That is, the time difference between the two pictures is less than 1/16th of a second. Then our eyes will not be able to distinguish between two different pictures, rather than it will be seen as if the picture is moving. That means if you're seeing two pictures, if you're seeing two same pictures, then our eyes cannot retain it for greater 1/16 of a second. Okay, it can only held, or it can only withstand the image for less than 1/16 of a second, students. So the movies that we see, actually a number of separate pictures which are arranged in a proper sequence, students, and then they are projected on the screen of cinema hall at the rate of 25 pictures per second. Remember this, all these pictures are arranged in a proper sequence and they are projected at the rate of 24 pictures per second. So that is why we can see many different pictures at a single second, students. Okay, now the next portion is the power of accommodation. What is this? It is the ability of the human eye, students, to see all the objects sharply which are located at, or which are placed at various distances, okay, in front of the eye. And the eye who self adjusts its eye lens so that it can form the images of both the places, that is the far away places as well as the close positions. So this ability of the eye lens is called the power of accommodation, students. So for a person who has a normal vision, the eye can accommodate clear objects at an infinity position. So the person who has a normal vision, then the far point of that object or that person will be the infinity, and the nearest point of the normal human eye can focus the objects at a distance of 25 centimeter. So this is known as the near point. So a healthy person who has a normal vision, the far away point is infinity and the near point is 25 centimeter, students. So near point means it is the point of the eye which is located at nearest to the eye, and it can still form a sharp image, and it can form the image on the retina. And what about the far point? The far point of the eye is the location of the farthest objects, okay, which the fully relaxed eye can focus. That means the eye can focus all the images which are placed very far away from the eye lens. Okay students, so students, that's all for today. In the next class we will discuss about the defects of vision. Okay students, so that's all for today. Thank you.